So now we're going to talk about washing the car. There's a lot of different technologies now out depending on how dirty your car is, or for some water restricted areas. There's some things called waterless washing, which technically still has water in it, but it's just a solution you spray on and then you wipe it off and dry it off, and that's it. Then there's rinseless washing, which basically is a method of using a solution, and it has, you have water in a bucket, and then you wipe the panel off and you dry it off, and there's no rinsing it down like a traditional wash. And then we have what we're going to do today, which is the 2-bucket method, and I'm going to show you the supplies that I'm going to use. So here's the supplies that we're going to be using. We just have 2 buckets. These are just from Home Depot. You can get them real cheap there. Then in front you see the car wash soap. That's Meguiar's Gold Class. You can use pretty much any kind of car wash soap, although I don't recommend the super cheap stuff. This Meguiar stuff is still very inexpensive, yet I think it has a pretty quality wash to it. Then next to it you have my Optimum Power Clean, which we've used a lot if you watch my other videos on this car. And I'm just going to be using that for the bottom panels of the side panels where there's just a lot of grime and built up dirt and things like that. You don't always have to use an all-purpose cleaner. If your car's not that dirty, you won't need to use it, or if you've just waxed your car, you won't want to use it because it will take the wax off. That's just an optional thing that I'm going to be doing here. Then up on top you have a grit guard. This basically just prevents the dirt from coming back up into the water when you're cleaning out your wash mitt. So it's not an absolute necessity, but they do work pretty well. What this is going to do is prevent swirl marks and scratches from getting too much dirt in your wash mitt and then wiping it on the car. And I'll also show you next the best method to wash the car, so we're going to try to eliminate swirl marks as much as possible. So on the right hand side I have my wash bucket, and then on the left hand side I just have clean water rinse. And also this is my wash mitt. It's just a microfiber wash mitt that we'll be using. We'll just put that in there and on to the first step. So first we're going to start off by rinsing the top of the car. We always want to start the top and work our way down, because obviously down here is going to be the dirtiest part. And I'm inside right now, so I'm not too worried about the sun. Obviously it's shady, but if you were out in the sun, I recommend either having someone else help you or make sure you're rinsing constantly, because the sun will dry the water on there very quickly and you're going to get a lot of water spots. If at all possible, it's best to do it in the shade. So now we're going to take this wash mitt and just wash the top part. Anytime you feel like you need more water or suds, you just want to rinse it out in the rinse bucket and then put it back into the wash bucket. Now, before that soap dries, I'm just going to quickly rinse off that part. Okay, so now I'll move to the hood of the car and the trunk of the car, and we'll just rinse those, wash them, and do the exact same method. Good idea, once you do a few passes on the first one, you can see where the dirt's at, to flip over your mitt and then go back over it so you're not putting the dirt right back onto it. Okay, so now we'll rinse that off. Now it's time to clean the upper part of the side panels, and what I mean by that is basically this nice little dividing line here. We're going to do above here all the way around the car, and then we'll treat this differently because it's the dirtiest part. We don't want to take anything from here and ever put it up above there, because obviously you're going to scratch the paint and do damage. So Go all the way around cleaning this, we'll rinse it, we'll wash it, rinse it again, and then I'll show you what I do on these bottom panels. Washed all the other panels, the upper part, the trunk, the hood, and now this part right here above this bottom section. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to spray this section down with the Optimum Power Clean, which is, we'll let it sit there, break down the dirt for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and clean it. Now, normally I would say if this wasn't too bad, you can use your same mitt all the way around, but on this one I might actually take an old mitt and clean only one side and then not put it back into the clean water and get another mitt and clean the other side. So we're just making sure we're kind of safe on that. By the way, I forgot to mention that this is mixed at 3:1, which it says for exterior. You can actually do basically straight on the panels on the outside of the car as well if you want to. Okay, so here we go. I'm just taking an old wash mitt here for this section and we'll see what it looks like. That's pretty good. I'll rinse that off and show you what it looks like. So here you can see the clean side versus the dirty side. So now I'm going to go all the way around the car, just the bottom section, and like I said, I'm going to switch to a new wash mitt halfway through so that I'm just kind of protecting myself from taking all this gunky stuff here and just wiping it on good paint. That's the plan, and then I'll show you the finished product. That's a big improvement on these bottom sections for sure. The top was just pretty much dirty, but this had a lot of that grime on it, and you can see we got most of it off. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the door jambs right now since the car is wet, and then we can rinse it off again. Okay, so on these door jambs, basically I'm going to take this brush. It's pretty soft, it's safe for the paint, and we're going to dump it in our bucket. This is our bucket that we were using before, the soap bucket. And because we rinsed our mitts in a clean water, this really isn't that dirty. So I'm just going to take this and we're just basically going to scrub this down real lightly. And since we don't want to really spray a hose here, I'm just going to get this kind of wet and just kind of use that to like rinse it off a little bit, let it drip off. Then I'm just going to take a regular old towel and wipe these out. So I'll bring you in and show you now what it looks like. basically it for the wash process. I'm going to quickly do the other door jambs real quick, and then I will dry the car. There's a couple different kinds of drying towels. This is just a regular microfiber drying towel, and this is what's called a waffle weave. It's pretty self-explanatory. This thing is just going to soak up the water quickly. So you might want to have a couple of these unless they're huge, but this one's not very big. So basically we're just going to go along and lightly dry off the candles. Now during this process of drying, you could also, if you weren't going to clay the car and wax it like we're going to be, you could use like a spray wax that you can use while you dry. Spray that on there and then wipe it off as you're drying. You could do something like that if you're in between waxes or just for some extra protection on the paint. So I'm going to go around the rest of the car with this, and that's how you dry. I hope you enjoyed that video, the washing and the door jambs and drying. Next up we will be claying this car, and then after that we will be waxing it. So as you can see, I've got my garage light on. It's almost getting dark, so we'll do that series next time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.